Welcome to Retire Ready with David Nicholas. I'm Amy Sharp. It's no secret that women tend to outlive men in every country around the world. So how could this impact your retirement? David Nicholas, founder of Nicholas Wealth Management, located right here in Atlanta, is with me today, and we're exploring some of the unique financial issues that women tend to face in retirement. David, good to be back with you.
Great to be here, Amy.
Let's be honest here. Whether a woman is single, widowed, married, she's going to face different financial challenges than a man because, like we just mentioned, more than likely the woman's going to outlive a man. What kind of challenges does that look like?
Amy, this is an issue that's really important to me, the issue of women and money. My mom was actually a single mom, and I'll tell you, my mom is my hero. She's the hardest working person I know, and we had a good life. But the money challenges are different, especially if you're in a single family home, especially if you're a female and you've been faced with the great responsibility of having to raise a family or provide for yourself throughout retirement. So there's different issues that face women versus men. I mean, you just mentioned it, women live longer. I think I read a number recently that women live 2.5 years longer than men do. So we're already outliving our spouses. But I think if you just look at the makeup of nursing homes, if you look at the numbers, 70% of those that are in nursing homes are women. So it's obviously we're living longer, but then we're going to have to be dealt with these higher costs of healthcare down the road, just given the fact that we're female and that we're probably going to live longer.
You talked about the challenges that women face, and the fact is that men tend to be the dominant when it comes to finances during working years, and maybe when they're married. But then women face their own challenges. Sure. What are women most concerned about when you talk to them?
Yeah, sometimes women have the toughest job. Like my wife, we have 3 beautiful kids, but my wife is as busier than me in most days because she's taking care of the family. She's making sure that everything is running smoothly. She's getting kids to school. And so it's more than a full-time job. And so what happens is sometimes as women, we might detach ourselves a little bit from the finances. I know in our house, my wife says, David, if you can handle this, I'll make sure everything else is functioning properly. And she does an incredible job. But because of that, it does sometimes remove us from the investments or the financial part of it. And I've had some clients tell me, David, as a husband, David, I could do this on my own, but I want to work with your firm because I'm thinking about my wife. If something were to happen to me, I don't want her to have to try to be figuring this out. And also her trying to decide who can she trust when it comes to retirement. But this is such an important issue. I mean, women, if you just look at that demographic as a whole, they control $10 trillion of wealth. This is fascinating. By 2030, that number will jump to $30 trillion. So there's a lot of wealth and money that women are in charge of. And unfortunately, I think they get a lot of bad financial advice. My mom, I mentioned, she got really bad financial advice in the 90s. And she had an advisor that I don't think really stopped to take the time to actually sit down, care about the issues that were facing her that were very different from the person that had millions of dollars and had everything figured out. My mom needed real help. And I just think a lot of financial advisors today, there's some good ones out there, but many of them, I think they do blanket recommendations. And so why it's so important for us when we're dealing with women, we really want to take the time to make sure, are we getting a specific plan that's tailored to them, because their concerns are very different from what men have to be concerned about.
You bring up a great point. Your mom is a wonderful example, and what a great legacy she's leaving with you and your family. And the fact is that a lot of women do kind of feel not that confident when they're maybe with their advisor, with their husband. How do we help women become more confident, make them feel a little more like they can take the lead a little bit?
Yeah, and so it's interesting when we sit down and we ask about risk. We were talking about this, and if I ask a husband, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, what risk are you comfortable with? David, I'm good with a 9 or a 10. And I ask the wife, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall? David, it's usually a 1. And so I think part of it is as if your husband and wife is really coming together and sitting down and saying, really, where is our risk that we're comfortable with together? Because as a male, we may just be I'm a risk taker. My wife says, David, I don't know how you do it, how you're okay with taking all these risks.
You're here on the spectrum.
100%.
She's down here.
And my wife, and I'm so grateful for this, but she is wired for security. She wants to make sure, David, are we going to be okay? Are we going to have enough to live? Are we going to outlive our money? And so I think we can be so worlds apart. Sometimes our job as financial advisors is helping our clients really see both sides and really find somewhere that they're both happy with. And it may end up being that we fall somewhere in the middle as far as risk goes.
Are you finding at Nicholas Wealth Management that your conversations with women are evolving over the years since you first started?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I see more women involved in planning and investments, and I think that's a good thing. Just if you look at our firm, we've got female advisors at our firm because I wanted to make sure that these specific, unique circumstances that we could answer those, and we could actually have those that are in that same seat to be able to provide that advice as well. But we're seeing women get more involved in planning, and I just think that's such a great thing because, again, we're living longer, and for whatever reason, women continue to still live longer than men. So it's so important, and I think the biggest thing is you just don't know who to trust, and I get it, right? When you turn on the TV, you've got so much news coming out of Washington, it's hard. And so that's why our firm, we try to show, hey, here's who we are, here's who our values are, and we want to be someone that our clients, especially our women, female clients, that they can trust not just today, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now in retirement.
All right. Great conversation. We'll continue this in just a moment. Up next, David explains how to get in front of the issue of healthcare costs to help preserve your income in retirement. And later in Ready, Set, Retire, David shares his recipe for retirement. To successfully make your favorite dish, you follow a recipe, right? In today's Ready, Set, Retire, David shares his recipe for retirement. David?
Thank you, Amy. All right, this is the part of the show where I tell you all about my favorite cooking recipes. No, I'm just kidding, you don't want those. But we are going to talk about what makes up the best retirement recipe. And so when we think about financial planning, if you think of our different investments, you may have stocks, you may have mutual funds, you may have bonds. Really, those are just a list of assets. This is kind of like our shopping list, right? We've got this variety of lists. We know what we're going to get, but what are we buying? We're really just buying ingredients. We may have all of these different ingredients. If you go to the grocery store and you buy the things that you need, separately they can all be great, but it's really not until they come together that they really become something special. And that's the meal that we're trying to cook. And I think it's important to look at our retirement and our investments the same way. For many of us, you may have a portfolio with different stocks or mutual funds or bonds, but if they're not working together properly, we really can make some big financial mistakes. So I say all of those different ingredients are like those different investments, but having a recipe, that is like having a financial plan. It's how do I take all of these different ingredients, how do I put them together to really make it work? So if to having a true retirement plan, a true retirement income plan is really like having a recipe for retirement. And what are some of the things that go into our recipe for retirement? Well, at Nicholas Wealth Management, we cover 5 key areas. And this is one of the challenges that I see. If you think about, if you're working with a financial advisor right now, you may be paying that financial advisor 1 to 2% per year for a management fee. But if you think about what is that financial advisor actually providing me? I've gotten answers like, well, David, he helps us pick out stocks and mutual funds. But I'm going to show you in on a little secret that most financial advisors don't want you to know. When the stock market is going up 20 or 30% per year, it doesn't take a master's degree in finance to do well when the stock market's doing well. And as financial advisors, we love to pat ourselves on the back and tell you how great a job that we're doing, but really, it's the stock market went up. So obviously, the accounts, if you're invested in the stock market, should do well also. So the question that we should be asking ourselves is, it's not how our investments or how our ingredients to our recipe perform when the markets are doing well, but how do our investments perform when the markets aren't doing well, when we're in periods of recession or volatility for the market. And if you're paying a management fee anywhere between 1 to 2% per year, and you're only getting investment advice, that's like just getting one piece of the pie, okay? Imagine paying all these fees and just getting a piece. So at Nicholas Wealth Management, we provide our clients with the recipe for the whole pie, because there's 5 key areas that go into our retire ready process. The first is the income part of the plan. We want to know where's all the income coming from that you need from the day you retire all the way out to age 100. Now you may say, David, no shot do I want to live to age 100. But I always say the risk is not dying early. The risk is that you just end up living a lot longer than you ever thought you would. So if you retire at 65, you could be spending 25 or 30 years in retirement. So it's so important to make sure that you do have a plan that lasts all the way out to age 100. Number 2 is your investments. You may be getting this advice right now, but maybe that's all you're getting. One of the things that we do for our clients is we stress test our client's portfolio. We want to know if we have major market volatility, or God forbid we have a recession. If you look back over the last 100 years, the average recession loss is 40%. And you may get this analysis from one of our advisors, and if you see that you could lose 40%, you then can make some choices and say, if I'm not comfortable with that, what can we do to provide some safety or some security to our retirement account? So that's the investment part. Next is the tax piece. I've been very clear about this. Our national debt is surging. We have deficits that are running $1 trillion plus deficits per year. The current tax rates that we have are some of the lowest they've been in 50 years, but they're not permanent. Current tax rates expire in a few years. And do you think our politicians are going to get together in a room and say, you know what, the American people are working so hard, let's lower their taxes even more, even though they're already at 50-year lows? No, I think taxes are going higher. So one of the things you have to be doing right now is you have to be looking, what are some ways that you can mitigate or even eliminate taxes on your investments in retirement? We have a CPA at our firm, and our advisor who's a CPA looks at our clients' accounts from a tax standpoint to make sure that they're doing everything that they can to reduce or even eliminate their taxes in retirement. Another portion of our Retire Ready process, another ingredient, is our health care. Long-term care, healthcare costs can be one of the biggest mistakes that we make by not planning for those areas. And it could be one of our most expensive expenses that we have in retirement. So we have to make sure that we have a plan to cover our health care and our long-term care. And lastly, what about our estate? What about our legacy planning? We spend so much time talking about what we want our retirement to be, how we're going to generate income. But one thing I noticed is that we spend very little time talking about our legacy. What do we want to be remembered as? Why have we woken up every day early and worked hard? It's not just to accumulate more stuff. It's because we want to bless those. We want to bless our kids and our grandkids and bless others. So do you have an estate plan in place? Also, if something were to happen to you, whether it's medical or God forbid at death, do we have financial directives? There's two things that you got to have to make sure you've got in your estate plan. You have to have a financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney. Those are two things you have to have done today. The attorneys at our firm at Nicholas Wealth Management, they can help you draft those documents so you've got those inside of your plan. So again, you may be someone that you've done great, you've saved for retirement, you're paying a financial advisor, but you're only getting one piece. If you're going to pay management fees, you might as well get the whole pie. And having a lot of different investments, you got to have and see how those investments work with the recipe. So we'd be honored to show you a little bit more about how our Retire Ready process works.